Hey there, this is Erika Hoveland coming to you on the Movie Raid with Mike Doyle.
It's time for the Movie Raid, and tonight's victim is Erika Hoveland, as played in Strain 100, The Eternal Code, amongst many others. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Always. So tell us a little about what's going on with the latest films so far. What can we expect from these?
Several that are coming out this year, kind of back in post-production with the pandemic, unfortunately, that we're all dealing with. Coming out this year, the Strain 100 was delayed a little bit, but hopefully it will be released in the next couple months. Eternal Code came out last year. That was with director Harley Wallen, and I have one of his new ones actually in post-production called Ash and Bone, which I'm super excited about. I did a film in December called An Intrusion with director Nick Holland, another one that I'm super excited about. That will come out later this year, fall-winter.
Working with Harley Wallen, that was from Eternal Code as far as writing and directing it, including acting in this film. Has this elevated in terms of the emotion aspect of your characters as far as non-related to Harley's film, but has this boosted or actually motivated you even further to a level of emotion that you haven't experienced yet?
Well, being able to work with such amazing co-stars is the first step. Well, the first step is the writing, and he had some really great scripts, and then to people that he did and be able to work off of them pushes my character to a level that is able to reach the emotions and tell the story and Harley's a great director. He pushes his actors to get the story told that he wants. Just surrounding yourself with the best is what gets us there.
Oh, without doubt. And there's a lot of pressure involved with so many things, rather having to act out the part or the company itself. But then in some aspect, do you think that you should also add some pressure of your own in terms of trying to perform against whatever it is the situation of your character to another character? Do you think sometimes that actually helps a little bit in order to stay on that kind of motivation, or do you think that might actually backfire on you, at least on your behalf?
I'm always putting pressure on myself, and then you can to go a little further, to be more honest, to be more genuine in the story they tell. I'm doing my character work. I'm starting to come down with my formula for each new film of the depth I have to go into in my character's backstory. And anything you can create, anything you can build to your character will make it more real on screen. And I don't think you can go too far with that. I don't think it's jeopardizing in any way. I think it just helps you understand their emotions, how they're going to react in a certain circumstance that's going to be different than how I react, as it's based on their story. I think more work you do, the more honest the character shows. That's my perspective.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, even the word pressure may sound like a negative thing, but having to use that pressure and apply it to certain ways of rather performance or even before performance and so forth, sometimes it could affect the other actor, sometimes it could affect yourself. But the question is, how can you use this to your advantage? How can you use this as a tool to actually help you? How can you use the negative things? As a matter of fact, how do you use the negative aspects or the negative tools that go against you that you can actually use as a positive tool?
Luckily, in my experiences, I've had a lot of positive experiences. I've had very little for negative. I guess you could say I'm also a theater actor, so I can come up with a couple experiences on stage in theater where maybe I didn't get along with my co-actor on stage, but I was able to use that because it's an emotion, it's a true emotion, and if you're able to filter that into your character's story, that was very helpful for me. Pressure is also being given a character that is very different than who you are, and I love that. That's my favorite thing, is when my character is nothing like me, and I've tried very hard to accept roles that do push me, and if you look back on my repertoire, there's very different looks, very different, like I mentioned Ash and Bone, that character is not a very nice person, kind of from the hillbilly down south. She's got a rough past. She and her brother are not people you want to come across on your nature walk. So I do that, but then I was also Bridget, which was the CEO of a company in Eternal Code. Both of those are Harley Wallen films. One of my favorite roles that I played was actually Harlequin, Harleen Quinnell, in a fan film, a Joker fan film that I did a few years back. And that, again, I had to put on a face prosthetic. I loved that because it was, completely different than anything I had ever done before. I take on that pressure as being beneficial because it pushes me further into doing my work in being able to create a mindset and a character that's outside of my comfort zone.
I mean, how do you really continue to be prepared even though you're unprepared for something like that? I mean, having to get that perspective view, I mean, that's definitely an important value, is that perspective view.
Yeah, well, you have to do your work. You have to make sure that you come prepared so that you're not thrown on certain things, but also be completely open and welcome the unknown. Welcome the things going badly. Something happening on set actually can be a gift because it gives you a different angle. If you're able to play it and you're open, instead of just no, I'm going to say my line this way, or I'm going to say it this way. If you're open to your stimulus, open to the environment around you, sometimes those unexpected circumstances are gems when it comes to a performance. I welcome that on set.
Even though you can endure something different, and when performing a moment or other experience, how do you make it sure that it's actually practical to do it, or do you think it's really best to be impractical?
I think it's a mix of both. I think being able to do both brings interest to a character. Practically, you have to, like I said, you have to come prepared. You have to be able to work with both angles, I think, to be open as a character.
Well, it's also about acceptance. When you're not entirely accepting the character that you're about to perform, then that means you're going to be doubtful of what is that you are performing of. And if that's the case, then the whole character itself is just going to be scrapped before you even start opening your mouth to say the first line.
Yeah, you have to be accepting of your character. That's our job as an actor, is to create that character, to be believable. Camera will pick that up in an instant if you try and portray a character that you don't believe in, you don't understand where they come from. I've seen many a performance like that, and I'm sure I've given them at certain times in my past. You have to accept your character.
And the fact is, having used like actual real situations, and it's okay that you're not experiencing everything to the fullest, but sometimes, like when you're performing something like, let's say, mentally challenged role or something more extreme, how can you really possess such talent to even progress to that when, again, it's about the unknown and having to accept that, having to go past that level of where the audience can connect with that
circumstance like that, like maybe they have mental health issues or whatnot, a character like that. Again, it starts with research and doing your homework. You come in prepared. I'm actually working on a role that has that aspect in it coming up that will be filmed in the fall. I'm doing my research on what does bipolar behavior look like, or manic behavior, or schizophrenia when it's presented. And I have to do my homework first. But then after that, once you've done that homework and you have that foundation, it really just comes down to being honest and portraying this character that you built just genuine. It's got to come, for me, I come from the inside to the out. Some people work more with the outside to the in, where they'll create more of their, what color is my hair going to be? What clothing am I wear? For me, I like taking what my character is from the inside and then discovering what that's going to look like on the outside.
Even having to worry about that, it's not just about pushing the emotions out. And if you are pushing just the emotions out, it can be overdone, it can be overpushed, underdone. If you're worried about pushing out these emotions out just because, let's say, you're angry, your character's angry. Okay, your character's angry, but there is such thing as just making it too plain, and there is such thing as making it too violent, because maybe that character isn't as violent as it should be despite how it looks.
Right. Well, and there's so many different levels within that. You can push it really high. Again, it really shouldn't be pushed. It's got to come from a place of anchored in the character. So as soon as you start pushing an emotion or pushing anger or pushing anything, it becomes untrue. And you see that. But what I love to play is the levels from going to not being angry to being really angry. There's nuances that are fun to play with, where sometimes everyone expects you to yell when you're angry, but sometimes the most powerful choice is to whisper, and being able to play with those and see how it affects your fellow actor and how they respond to it. It's just fun.
Do you think sometimes that there's just not enough challenge to emotion? Emotion is a very strong thing in general, but do you think you need to actually challenge that emotion regardless of what it is, or do you think that it should be just self-contained and self-flowed itself?
Emotion for the sake of emotion, I don't think reads true. I think we need to challenge ourselves, both as actors and your character within the character you're playing. I think challenging yourself is interesting to watch. I think we have to do that, just as human nature. You don't progress, you don't grow, you don't do anything unless you challenge yourself.
And self-observing, do you think that's also a good key factor too? Self-observing just by being in the environment, not just to help your character, not just to help you get through the character or even the situation, but having to even go in society in reality to observe human behavior. There's so many mixed emotions, so many different ways to challenge it, but the question is, should you actually choose? Should you actually pick and choose of what should be actually a part of this, or should it just be naturally flown of how you experience in that society?
One of my favorite things to do is people watch, and I do it based, what character am I working on? How would that person walk? And I come up with that before I go in, because that's, for me, is not a natural, like on day one of set. I need to know already what my physicality, what my voice is going to sound like, if I have an accent, or like people watching, the real tool. And there's so many different characters out there you can glean some gems from. And I've done it. I've based several of my characters on people that I've seen at a grocery store, or when I'm walking the dogs, whatever the case may be. Something grabs my attention of, wow, that person, how interesting, how they bop when they walk, like they bounce. What does that mean, and where's their energy sourced? And I'm watching that all the time. Or when I personally, also, if I've had some sort of traumatic event or exciting event, I take time to truly take note internally of, what is this feeling like? How am I reacting? What have I done in response to that? And I'll use that. Like I'll go there on if a role calls for it. So it's, for me, it's always gleaning these pieces of information from the environment around me that I can use for the future.
Oh yeah, and the fact is you have to attach a part of yourself to a degree, going through all this process of the emotions and everything that you've already been trying to do. You have to attach it to there. That way, it's a little bit of your own mark. That way, not only does the audience recognize the character, but they also recognize a piece of what you've added to it.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Go ahead and plug in any websites or anything that we can check out right now.
Well, I have my IMDb page, Erika Hoveland, and I have my own website, erikahoveland.com. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as well. I believe it's Erika Hoveland 1 or Hoveland Erika on Twitter. Facebook is just Erika Hoveland. So I'm kind of on all the social medias.
There you have it, everybody. That is actress Erika Hoveland.
Thank you so much for having me. You guys take care and stay safe.